Yo, what's up, everybody? PC Monk here with a weekly review and what I think is about to happen for the next week. Now, keep in mind, before I start this is all assumption, okay? There's nothing set to stone, and I could be wrong 100%. So that's why I always say, not a financial advice. All right, so now let's jump into this. The first thing I want you guys to pay attention is this navy blue line, and this is on daily and weekly. I want you guys to pay attention to. All right, so on the weekly, let me just remove these unnecessary lines as well. So on the weekly, we could see that the trend line is essentially has been broken out. The trend line has been broken out, as you guys can see right here. All right, it has been broken out, but we do have another trend line as and an inside the trend line, which has to be broken out. And this is a very beautiful high and a lower high and a lower high. And today it has 16 more hours and 41 minutes to complete this and essentially get out of this high, or make at least a wick to the upside, so we know this trend line is no valid. All right, is no longer valid. But now, if we take a look at it, the daily is essentially a little bit more bullish, as you guys can see, from all the way from this wick to this wick to this wick. Right, and even right here, it was weak, so it didn't even touch it. Now, I want to talk about these rectangles, as you guys can see. I call it supply zone, and the blue one demand zone. You could call it discount level. You could call it uh, buy side, sell side insufficiency, whatever you like to call it. All right, just for the sake of this video, I'll call it supply zone, the red line, the red ones, and the blue ones are demand zone. And obviously we have an equilibrium here, and premium and discount stays at the same. So what I want to talk about is, first of all, a very extreme scenario, which is if we were about to come to 31K again. Now, why would I say that? Well, because this trend line has been broken. Now, this trend line has to, first of all, break a lot of levels that I'm going to talk about before it gets here. All right, but if we want to take it level by level, first we have to take down this weekly high, which is 28.1. And if we do want to do that, we have to a little bit come above it, right? At least get denied over here before we hit 29K. All right, so around 28.6, 28.4, we could get denied here and have a pullback and then push it back higher to this area, or this consolidation, and essentially we holding a little bit high than usual could indicate that Bitcoin wants to crawl all the way up. All right. By crawling, I mean slowly grind itself up around below this equilibrium and then push it higher in a way that we fill this fair value gap and then we fill the mid range of this rectangle. All right. So, one thing that's very important is how we fill these rectangles. Are we filling it completely like this, or are we filling it at mid range? So, right here, as you guys can see, this made a supply zone, right? And the next time it didn't fill it completely. It filled it only half of it, and then it crashed back down. As you guys could see, as we were crashing, we even made a fair value gap here, and the fair value gap was too heavy that we could not even fill it. Does that make sense? All right. So with this fair value gap, if we come up here, all right, like I said, this could be completely wrong. These are all assumptions, all right? But if with the first attempt, we come to the mid range of this, which is 29.6, 29.5, then we could say, and this is kind of bearish. Anywhere you see this, anywhere you see that we are filling mid-range of these rectangles, you could say it's bearish, and we might have like a good reversal to the downside or a pullback. All right, but if you completely fill this one to the wick, I mean, we wick around here, okay? It doesn't matter where the body closes. The only thing that matters is we wick, we clear this whole thing, okay? That means the liquidity is cleared and the momentum could be as strong for higher possibilities. All right, so always keep that in mind. So, like I said, if we the first is we break this, the second is we break that 29.4, 29.5, essentially higher than this fair value gap. If we fill this completely, then the momentum is very strong. But if we fill this halfway, then we have to pay attention, because this could completely reverse to the downside and starts another bear market, or continues the bear market that essentially we're in, and or it could consolidate a little bit lower and then find its momentum and come back down, come back up. Okay, but when we come back up, then it gets here, and here is very important. Are we going to clear this high liquidity zone, which is around here completely? If we completely clear it, that means if with the first 1 hour or 4 hours, all right, we come and hit the premium zone completely, and you see this green rectangle, and this is a premium zone, right? So if we hit the bottom of the premium zone and we get denied, then again the same scenario over here. We're probably going to have a reversal. Uh, and we'll have to see how that plays out, okay? But if we completely fill the premium with the first 4 hour or 1 hour, there's a big possibility that we could see even higher prices and a new high would be made. All right, keep that in mind. Now, to the downside, right now we're stuck here, okay? And let me put this on the, well, 3 hour will do. Doesn't really matter. So right now we're stuck here, okay? And what we need to do, we need to show uh, Bitcoin needs to show that it can break this. All right, do you want to break it over the weekend? I doubt it. So we might just come back all the way to that 26.5 around here and then come back up, or just, literally after we hit that 26.5, we die here when we consolidate between like a $50 range, very low range consolidation. That could happen. And after that, again, we have to take it level by level. I'm going to keep saying it so you guys don't make any assumption that I'm telling something very accurate, because I'm not. All right, but if when we get here, there's a possibility when we come down, did you touch this level, did you touch this navy blue line, then you're still bullish. All right, the trend still has made another higher low and it's bullish. But as you guys could see, we are making lower highs around here, even this included. Let's see if this makes a higher high at least, or touches this premium zone, or a little bit even higher. If we touch this premium zone and a little bit higher, then this is completely bullish, and we do have to expect maybe like a pullback to the downside to around 26.5, and then push it back all the way up, okay? But if we essentially, we want to come down, and I want to just talk about these two trend lines. If we come down and we break this, then again there's this discount level and obviously this small fair value gap. But what important is that, as you guys could see, this 26K, now let me just uh, put another trend, or put another chart here, not this chart, not this chart. Or is it this chart? Give me a second, guys. Oh, it is this chart. My bad. So I think I can see we do have a fixed volume range here. Now, what I want to talk about is essentially when we break this 26.5, then we start to get bearish, okay? And the bearish momentum could pick up depending on how the move starts. But if it starts very slow and come around this area, there's a demand zone right here, as you guys can see, come around this area and stop in the mid range of it, then that's bullish again. Then we're probably going to pick it up and we go higher. But my 2 cents, like nothing is set in stone yet. My 2 cents is we're not going to break even. Maybe we wick to this pink line, but I think we're going to hold this support line of this rising broadening wedge. And if we do that and we pick it back up from here, all right, then that's definitely bullish. But we have to pick it back up. If I see consolidation like near this, then that's not it. I have to pick this back up and come around here, come above this previous day close, start consolidating there, and that would be bullish. But as we exit this rising broadening wedge, then our bearish sentiment has to be a little bit more powerful than the bullish sentiment. And then there's this. If we completely fill this, then we not definitely, but there's a high probability that we essentially gonna check the point of control and come to this area, wick into this area, or even touch this area and hold this area for a little bit more, all right, which is 26, 25.9. This is the point of control. After that, if you lose the point of control, then there's this value area low. And as you guys can see, the value area low is in the mid range of this demand zone, and the demand zone comes from here, comes from this 24.7. Obviously this 24.7 has been kind of holding, but what is important is this one, all right, this one, which is lower than this. So we could see that this one literally cleared it all out, right? And then the second one made a new higher low than this one, and it stopped in the mid range of it. So that was bullish, and then we went up, right? As you guys could see, mid range, and essentially this coincide with our low value area low that we had here, and we could use this fixed volume range as a confluence to what we thought essentially, and it held it here and it went up. So right now after we went up to that 25.7. We made that 25.7. We tried to clear this out, we couldn't, but we stopped at the mid range of this. Again, that indicates there's this sell side, this liquidity around here is big. We couldn't clear it completely, right? We stopped at the mid-range of it, so that was bearish. Then we came back down, and then we legged down completely. So the bearish move was correct, because only if you say like we stopped at the mid-range of this wick, okay? But then we picked it back up with another higher low than this one, and this one was higher than this one, right? And obviously we do have a higher low right here, which is then this one would make a higher low than this, and then this. Then still we could say that we are still in some bullish sentiment. So obviously when we take down the point of control, this is where the bearish sentiment kicks in. And then if we take down 25.1, then obviously uh, we could safely say we're probably going to see some lower price coming in. Now, when I say lower price, I mean that 23.8 that I was talking about. Okay, so that's to the downside. But to the upside, as I said, now let me just bring another chart. And keep in mind, to the upside, there's a value area high that essentially, right now is acting as a confluence to where the gap is and where the liquidity lies, which is around here. All right. But if we take this down, if we take the first liquidity and the fair value gap down, and what I mean by down, I mean we hit above it. Both of these, okay? Both the fair value gap and the value area high, we wick above it, then we might have a retracement, but my 2 cents will tell me that we are essentially aiming for this 30K. And if that 30K goes down, then I've talked about that 31K and the possibilities of that 31K. Now, what else I want to talk about is I forgot to mention you two things on the weekly. So on the weekly, what I think is about to happen, guys, so it's just my 2 cents, hear me out here. I think on the weekly, we're gonna come a little bit lower and touch that 26.6, okay? And I think it's gonna be over like the next day, which is Monday. I think it's gonna be on the next week that this is gonna happen. Obviously, this could happen right now. We'll just trace it all the way back up, all the way back down. But what I think is gonna happen, we're gonna come and touch this 26.6, 26.5, and then we're gonna go high for the week. We're gonna come around at 29.4 or 5. That's what I think is going to happen. Now, obviously, there's two things that I should mention here about the week that I forgot. So you could see this wick in two ways, and obviously there's the RSI. The RSI is pushing to the upside. All right, there's not much pattern here that we could talk about, but I see this weekly candles as this. So I count the up moves. Okay, so this is the first up move, the second up move, the third one. All right, now if this is a 5 leg, we're missing 2 legs, right? So this is going to be the fifth one, and I'm sorry, that's going to be the fourth one, and this will be the fifth one. So essentially, we make a head and shoulder, right? And this could take at least like at the end of the year or even the next year, when we don't know. All right, but that's like a big assumption. All right, that it could be completely wrong. All right. And one more thing that you could say, and like I said, these are just my assumption. I'm not even using Elliott waves. Usually you use it. So the first leg up, second leg up, third leg up, fourth, fifth. This could be like this. Now, if this is about to play out, we will stop at 29 point probably 7 at max, okay? I think it could be lower, if that is, because usually they say the third leg has the biggest momentum, and this is the third leg with the biggest momentum. Now, I've talked to you guys about the bullishness and bearishness of we filled the fair value gaps at the mid-range and pick it back up. You guys could see right here, we dropped, but we filled this big momentum fair value gap to the mid, and then we picked it back up. And obviously I've told you guys about this navy blue line breakout, so that's the possibility. Now let's go to our beloved chart, talk about more about what we think is about to happen on this chart. So this chart is essentially my main chart. That's why you have seen a lot of lines happening in this one. Now I'm trying to talk to you guys about a couple of movements that could happen around here. Let me just put it in the 4 hour. So, all right, so the 4 hour right now, as you guys could see, right here, we're getting a rejection and we are essentially at the mid-level of this green candle, a little bit higher than the mid-level, and we're getting a rejection. We formed that downtrend trend line that I drew on the other one, right? So if we're about to lose this area and we're about to lose it for good, all right, that means the first place we want to test is 26.2, 26.1, or essentially 26K, this equilibrium and this demand zone. If we hold this demand zone at the mid-level, then it's bullish, then we're going to go up. But if you don't hold it, if you break this, we could touch that 25.8, which is around this dotted yellow line, and then we bounce back up. Depends where we go after the bounce. If you bounce back up and start consolidating here, then my 2 cents will tell me the next stop will be this fair value gap, which is 25.1. And again, the same scenario goes for each of these fair value gaps. So if we fill this fair value gap to the midpoint, which is going to be 25.4, and then we pick it back up, then we could say, oh, we're bullish. But how, you know, how much the bullishness has power? Does that even make sense? What was that? All right, but does it take to go higher, or it's just going to come around here and retrace back down? You understand? So we have to see this, if it's going to go higher or not. We have to see the momentum. But if we break this 25.1, I think the next stop is going to be 23.8, and we're going to make a new low. All right, there is a possibility of holding 24.5, which is the mid-range of this big wick that it happened. But I mean, that made it with here with this hold at 24.8. So essentially, if we're about to come, I don't think this 25.4 will hold, although it could hold. I think we're going to come lower at least at the time we probably, where is the chart right now? Let me see. So at the time we probably come in low to hit this black line is 24.1. So but what I think is at least we're going to touch 23.9, this purple line. Okay, but like I said, we have to take it level by level. And right now there's a premium zone at this area, as you guys could see, and we still couldn't touch it. We did touch this with this push to the upside. We did make 27.2. We cleared the liquidity around this area, as you guys could see, but the premium zone is there. So we are not going to that premium zone. That means we are kind of weak and we might just come back down. And if today, so this, what I said is essentially assumption for next week, and for the possible moves that could happen both to the downside and to the upside. Obviously, there was a lot of small possibilities that when we go into the week, I'll talk about them more. But like I said, two possibilities right now to watch. Are we going to hold 26.5 when we drop? All right. If that's so, then we could probably go higher. Are we going to come around 26K, 26.1? Then that's 50-50. Essentially, right here is 50-50. As you guys can see, we do have the equilibrium. So this is where the sellers and the buyers were 50-50. So when we come here is 50-50. Losing this will put us more into the bearish side. That makes sense. And that would be all, guys. Even with this beloved chart that I have, the first, if we're about to come up, obviously we have to take this out first. So it depends on the momentum to the upside. We have two possible ways to do it. So the first one is we come and take this level area, which is 28.3, 28.7, looks good, decent. Anything below this break of structure, the shift of structure we had, so essentially around here, and then we start to make a local bottom here. How do we make a local bottom? We go down, we come up, essentially a consolidation. All right, and after we make this local bottom, then we try to go higher. Essentially, we try to come around here. We try to break that 29.7, 29.4. So we break this completely and we go into the 30K range. If that happens, then we would be essentially more bullish. All right, but essentially to go above this, the first thing we need to do is essentially break this trend line. Okay, this trend line, this blue trend line, as you guys could see here, is kind of important, is above this fair value gap. So if we hit this and if we hit the mid range of it, then we could see possible reversal, not a reversal, but a pullback to where we made the local bottom, which was around 28.4, right? After we hit the mid-range. But if we hit it all, then we could see some higher possibilities. And yep, that would be it. Thank you guys for watching. I'm actually running out of time, and but mentioned everything. Over the week, I'll talk about liquidity, and we go level by level. But that's just an assumption. It is nothing set in stone. I could be completely wrong, but obviously we're gonna go either up or down. Thank you guys for watching. Stay safe.